In May 2007, a group of international walkers set off from Dublin on an 86-day pilgrimage to London, working with local communities to raise public awareness about the suffering and coercion that communities throughout the world face by the nuclear industry. This journey features many photos, talks and actions that bring to life the resistance and empowerment of people who have and are resisting the nuclear industry while creating a community of peaceful change. For us, walking has become a major means of developing a connection to the land, people and environment, and has also deepened our understanding of the deadly nuclear cycle.
To extract such vast quantities of energy from such an unconventional fuel, the nuclear states have built an industrial complex that spans the globe. This fuel chain begins with uranium mining. In a conventional mine, uranium-bearing rock is dug up from open-cut pits or underground tunnels. It's trucked to uranium mills where it is crushed to a fine powder and chemically treated to separate the traces of uranium. To produce 1 ton of uranium oxide, or yellow cake, around 660 tons of rock is crushed and discarded. To fuel a conventional nuclear power station for 1 year, 200 tons of uranium are needed, leaving behind 130,000 tons of waste. This radioactive waste rock, or tailings, is dumped next to the mine in huge dams. It contains a cocktail of radioactive decay products and needs to be isolated from the environment for tens of thousands of years. The uranium is then transported to enrichment plants, where it's converted into a gas and purified further. The 200 tons of uranium oxide yields 24 tons of low-enriched uranium suitable for nuclear fuel. Enriching the uranium further yields weapons-grade material, making enrichment plants a key technology for nuclear weapons proliferation. One waste product from the enrichment process is so-called depleted uranium, or DU. The enriched uranium is transported to fuel fabrication plants and carefully manufactured into nuclear fuel assemblies. These are loaded into the nuclear power station, where the intense heat of the nuclear reactions in the fuel is used to produce steam, driving conventional turbines to generate electricity. The extreme heat, pressure and radiation fields in a nuclear reactor demand precision engineering and constant vigilance by plant operators. After more than a year in the reactor core, the fuel becomes too contaminated to sustain a chain reaction. The irradiated fuel assemblies are set aside in pools for several years until they are cool enough to be transferred to sealed sheds next door to the reactors. Spent nuclear fuel is so intensely radioactive that all handling must be done by remote control. It needs to be isolated from people and the environment for hundreds of thousands of years. As yet, it is not clear whether it will be possible to achieve this. One proposal is to encase the fuel in lead, steel and copper canisters before burying them in stable geological formations deep underground and backfilling the tunnels with remote piloted vehicles. But in time, the waste will escape even this containment. After 60 years, there's still no foreseeable solution to the nuclear waste problem. A small number of countries operate reprocessing plants to extract the exotic element plutonium, which forms in the spent fuel. In theory, this is done to provide fuel for a new generation of plutonium breeder reactors, which create or breed more plutonium than they burn up. In practice, after several accidents and more than $100 billion in funding, no one has ever been able to build a commercially successful plutonium reactor. For this reason, there are now more than 270 tons of separated plutonium sitting in civilian stockpiles around the world. It takes as little as 4 kilograms of this material to make a bomb capable of destroying a city.
What we need is a sustainable energy policy which is linked to a participative democracy. We need a new model which will enable people to have their say.
The rich and the powerful multimedia corporations and the multinational corporations, that argument they are putting to the fore about nuclear energy being the real challenge to global warming, we know it's a lie.
Some of the nuclear weapons that are being used are very, very subtle and seem to be acceptable, like depleted uranium, which was used in Iraq and in Kosovo and various different places, and it's still killing people even after it's been stopped using. Children are being born with birth defects.
Leaving Dublin, we walked up the east coast of Ireland to Belfast to hear from communities about the effects on this land by its nuclear neighbour England, who for decades have contaminated the Irish Sea with radioactive waste.